James Harden with a 40-point triple-double last night. The Rangers saved their best win of the year for a game when their head coach is out because of COVID protocols. And John Heyman will join us later for all the latest on Francisco Lindor's contract situation with the Mets. But we got to start with Deshaun Watson in the possible pursuit of Deshaun by the Jets, because if you are someone who was holding out hope that the Jets were going to pull off a trade for Deshaun Watson, well, a move that would have already been very complicated in many ways, Moose, just got a whole lot more so. So a few days ago, a Houston area lawyer started posting on Instagram that he was filing civil lawsuits against Deshaun Watson on behalf of massage therapists who claim he crossed the line and acted inappropriately. Now, these are not criminal lawsuits. These are civil lawsuits. But we now have more details about these lawsuits, and the details are disturbing. Absolutely. According to the lawyer representing these women, there are more accusations forthcoming, so we're keeping our eye out for that. Now, before I tell you about any details about these allegations, Deshaun Watson has called them baseless. He says he's never acted inappropriately towards any women, and that he is going to defend himself and fight this. So here is what he's going to be defending himself against, according to the two women who have already filed lawsuits. Right. So the first lawsuit alleges that Watson booked a massage March of 2020 with a therapist who works in her home. And after leaving the room, the therapist alleges she returned to find Watson lying on a massage table with just a small towel covering his groin area. The lawsuit says the plaintiff began to feel very uncomfortable, and it became apparent that Watson wanted a massage for only one reason. She believes that was sex. He was asking the massage therapist to focus on the groin area. It accuses Watson of exposing himself and subsequently touching the woman. So that lawsuit, that's one lawsuit. The second lawsuit now alleges that Watson booked a massage with a masseuse over Instagram. So this isn't someone who works with the team. It's an outside masseuse. Flew her to Houston from Atlanta. The massage was to take place at a hotel and spa, I guess. And the suit says Watson was nude on the massage table, refused to cover himself with a towel despite several requests by the masseuse. And it also says that he inappropriately touched the woman. Okay, so those are sort of the facts here. Those are the allegations, pardon me. Correct. That's what the suits are saying. So this is obviously, disturbing, because not only because of what's in each suit, but it looks like there is a pattern that's emerging. So if this is true and he's refusing to cover himself with a towel after several requests, obviously that is totally crossed the line. And, Moose, if the Jets are still engaged with the Texans, or if they ever were engaged with the Texans on a trade for Watson, obviously it becomes very complicated because, Watson's going to defend himself, and I expect him to defend himself. I don't know how Joe Douglas or the Johnsons could be comfortable trading for Watson while these matters are still outstanding. Like, you have to get to the bottom of this before he could come suit up for you, and I'm not sure what the timeline would be on these civil cases, that he would, even if he is completely innocent, that he would have enough time to clear his name before a trade would happen. And, obviously if these allegations are true and that he would cross the line in this way, then he's got a whole lot more coming towards him, and it would be pretty bad. I doubt it would end his career. It certainly would be a fall from grace, though, for a guy who, up until this point, Moses had this very pristine image.
No, of course. And there are allegations at this stage. He's hired Rusty Hardin, a very familiar name, was Roger Clemens' lawyer. There are a lot of people that look at it. I listened to the morning show Gio and Boomer this morning talking about conspiracy theories, and Tony Busby, the lawyer for the two accusers, he claims that there are four more as well, 6 in total. At one point in time, he claims he was the neighbor of Cal McNair. There are a lot of people that are going to look at this and just say the timing of it is, and the timing of all of this coming out, is a little odd or raises an eyebrow. Put the timing of it aside. You have to see this all play out. You have to see exactly if there is any truth to these allegations. Deshaun Watson, I guess, was approached to pay off, or was asked to submit, pay a 6-figure sum in order to make one of the allegations go away. He refused. He said he's looking forward to clearing his name. You mentioned that it is baseless. I don't know. I mean, they're allegations. It's a civil lawsuit. It's not a legal lawsuit. He's not facing prison time. The NFL is aware of it. The Texans obviously are well aware of it. We'll see where these lawsuits do go. Does that prevent the Jets from pursuing Deshaun Watson? I'm not so sure. I don't. Or any other team in the National Football League from pursuing Deshaun Watson? I'm not sure. I think you'd probably hire a team of investigators to look into the scenario. You'd want to talk to Deshaun Watson. You'd want to have that conversation before any trade did happen. You'd want to make sure that you are comfortable, that you feel like you as an organization have the complete and whole truth. Can you get to that point, that comfortability level, in order to make a trade for Watson in a short amount of time before next month's NFL draft? I'm not sure if that can be accomplished. So
there's a lot that goes into this.
There's a lot that goes into this story when you read it, and if it's true, then Deshaun Watson is, obviously, it's awful. That's behavior you can't be doing, and we'll see where these allegations do go. Tony Busby continues to hop on social media and talking about the case against Deshaun Watson. But there are a lot of people that are going to look at this and look at the timing of it and raise an eyebrow and say something's a little amiss here with everything coming out right now after Deshaun Watson has refused to play for the Houston Texans. Once out of Houston, they bring in a backup quarterback in Tyrod Taylor. He had the meeting with the head coach down in Houston, and now all of a sudden you have allegations of this kind of behavior against Deshaun Watson, who up until this point in time had as clean an image in the National Football League, and not just in the NFL, but in Clemson as well, as you could possibly have for a young superstar in the National Football League. Or any young star athlete. Deshaun Watson was as clean could be. That's it. There wasn't anybody that looked at him and said, this is why you look at this situation down in Houston with him requesting a trade as being a tremendous outlier, because something has to be wrong, because this is not Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's someone who, seemed like, his character seemed beyond reproach. But these are obviously, serious allegations against him, and the story is still unfolding, and we'll see what these other women have to say. But the one thing about the timing of it, and I understand why people would look at that and say, like, man, isn't the timing, is there something kind of odd about that and weird and all this stuff going on? And I would just caution a little bit. And while we can, I understand where that comes from, this has been the timing of lawsuits, civil, criminal, whenever it's something inappropriate, usually women accusing men of misconduct. Timing has often been used as a way to shift the focus from why is this happening now, as opposed to where the focus should remain, which is, did this happen? And we saw it even a little bit with the Jared Porter case, like, oh, now you're coming out because he's general manager. Well, because he kept rising up the ranks, right? This is obviously something that nobody ever found out, that he was being inappropriate sending text messages to this reporter. But people have often used timing in some ways, whether they are conscious of it or not, using timing as a way to shift the focus and saying, well, why is this happening, as opposed to where it needs to be. It doesn't matter the timing, really, in my opinion. The only question should be, did this happen? Are these allegations true? Like, I hesitate to go down that road because it takes the focus away from where it needs to be, in my opinion.
I get it, but there are people that can question it, look at it, and there are lawyers that are not on the up and up, correct? There are lawyers. When you look at it, the relationship, when you look at Tony Busby, who was Deshaun Watson can't stand Cal McNair. Tony Busby was at one point in time a neighbor of Cal McNair. Tony Busby has now gone on a social media rampage, to go after the character of Deshaun Watson. You've got these allegations against Deshaun. And listen, everybody is going to have their say. So we'll see where this does go legally. Deshaun Watson called Rusty Hardin. Rusty Hardin took the case right on the spot and says, I believe in the character of Deshaun Watson. I believe that he is telling the truth. We'll look forward to our day here moving forward. Deshaun Watson has called these claims baseless. So with as big of a mess as we know down in Houston, this is not like a normal situation going on with the Houston Texans franchise. Everything that we've talked about with Houston, people that have intimated and said, if you knew how bad it was, you would understand why Deshaun Watson wants out of that franchise. Right? They won't give you details, but they'll tell you that. So with all of that, now you get this story that just comes out of nowhere where you have one allegation, then another allegation against a player that has no history of this whatsoever. And I'm not saying that, listen, it's not a matter of where I don't believe the women. I will see how it does play out. And if Deshaun Watson is guilty, then Deshaun Watson was fooling us all. And he'll obviously lose the civil lawsuit. If there's more accusers that are going to come out, the lawyer Tony Busby said there's 6 in total. 2 accusers have now come forward. We'll see if the other 4 do come out. If this is just repeated behavior by Deshaun Watson with massage therapists. The second one was one that he reportedly, met on Instagram or approached on Instagram and flew in from Atlanta to Houston. So if all of that is true, then, Deshaun Watson, I don't think there's an NFL team that's going to go out there and acquire Deshaun Watson and make a trade for Deshaun Watson. Now you get to the timing aspect. Something we talked about earlier, in this segment is, can an NFL team feel comfortable enough before the NFL draft with all of this going on? Probably not. Yeah. The answer to that is probably no.
Because how could you get to the bottom of this or attempt to get to the bottom of this if you're, say, Joe Douglas or you're the Miami Dolphins or the Carolina Panthers, whoever might be in for Deshaun Watson, in enough time? Like this case, we're right in the middle of this. It's still unfolding. I believe the 3rd lawsuit has been filed maybe already, or they intend to file it today. And so with the records requests and how things work in the state of Texas, it's going to become public very, very soon. So we're going to get even more details and more allegations and accusations. So I don't know how a team would be able to do this. How do you sell that to your, first of all, how do you feel comfortable doing that before you know all the facts of the case? And how, not let alone getting people in the building comfortable with it, which you'd really have to explain that. How about to your fan base? That would be really difficult also.
Where's the precedent to where, where's the precedent? I guess I would like to know is, this is not a legal case, it's a civil case. But
you mean criminal case? It's not a criminal case.
Not criminal case, right. It's a civil case, not a criminal case. But where is where do you have to hit in order to file a civil lawsuit? What do you mean? Where do you need, in a criminal case, you need overwhelming evidence, right? How much merit, how much does there need to be proof in order to file a civil lawsuit? I know the burden of proof is lower in a civil case, obviously, right? But where's the level of burden of proof? Where's the level to where I can, you have Tony Busby filing and these 2 women accusing Deshaun Watson. Because and the accusations come out. Where's the merit? Where's the burden of proof in order to file a civil lawsuit? I don't know that answer. Maybe a lawyer will call up and give us an idea about where you need to be in order to file a civil lawsuit. You can understand why people would look at this and say it doesn't pass the sniff test. That's just human nature. I don't think it necessarily looks at it because of everything we know that's gone on in the last 2 months with the Houston Texans, everything that we've talked about here. So I don't look or judge people look at people differently if you look at this and say, you know what, it doesn't really pass muster for me. But we'll see where these civil lawsuits do go against Deshaun Watson. 2 have been filed. Maggie mentioned that there is a 3rd on its way. Busby said there's 6 in total. We'll see if this is just repeated behavior against Deshaun Watson, or is this an over-aggressive lawyer and these are quote-unquote baseless according to Deshaun Watson and have 0 to no merit.
Yeah, the lawyer aspect of this is obviously, because they're making this so public and he's being so public on Instagram, I kind of don't love the way that he's sort of represented himself on social media, again, because it should be about the women and about what happened. It shouldn't be about this guy and, him sort of going into his family history and all of that stuff, him giving his credentials out there. That's not what it's about. It's not. It's really not about you. It's about these women. It's about whether or not Deshaun Watson acted inappropriately. It's not about whether you were a former Marine. It's not about whether you were anything and who else you ever represented. Like, to be honest, that does very little for me.
Himself.
I know, and see, that's the thing. It's like that's again.
That
like
also
I always
doesn't pass the sniff test.
Well, but like again, I want to try to be able to separate right how the lawyer is behaving, but what are the claims that these women are making, and are they true? And that's what I want to try to keep separate in my mind here, because I think it's easy to say this is a circus. Look at this lawyer now, this guy who was putting up billboards for the Texans to draft Johnny Manziel or whatever, and he's got all these bizarre sort of nuggets about him. But I want to be able to separate in my mind, okay, this guy is representing these women, but if these women have real claims, they have to be investigated to the full letter of the law.
I get it, but if I'm a lawyer and I believe I have an open and shut civil case against Deshaun Watson, would I be acting the way I'm acting?
See, I don't want to put those perceptions on this, because I feel like it hurts the women, and they should be treated on their own merit.
But that's where people are going to look at it and say this lawyer is looking for attention. I mean, that's the other thing, where he's not helping his clients in any way, shape, or form. If I believe that I have a civil case that is lock, stock, and ready to go, am I acting and behaving the way that this lawyer, Tony Busby, is on social media? I don't know if I am. Listen, I'm not a lawyer, but if I'm confident in my case, and I'm not saying that he is, maybe it's just his personality. Maybe it's looking like he's looking at this to drum up business for himself, but you can understand why people are going to look at it and say to themselves, well, we'll see how this does go forward. There is an argument to be made where if Deshaun Watson's name is getting dragged through the mud because the Houston Texans don't want to move Deshaun Watson. I heard Boomer and Gio talking about this at the end of the show, that the Texans don't want to move Watson, so they want to, spoil the goods. And therefore he's going to remain down in Houston. Think about that as being a possibility as well. I mean, but Maggie, with everything that's gone on in Houston, and the way that franchise is run, and the friendship that Tony Busby has with Cal McNair, and then you have this lawyer that's going out there on this rampage on social media, you can understand why people are looking at this case and saying something's off here.
I understand that, but Deshaun Watson has the means. He will have the ability to defend himself every way he possibly can. He's going to have that time to fight this all the way. He's not somebody who's going to, he has everything available that could be available to somebody who's trying to clear their name will be available to Deshaun Watson. I just want to keep it about what are these allegations, because the women get lost in the shuffle sometimes when it comes to things like this. And I'm not saying that's happening now. We have no idea what's happening. I'm just bringing my different point of view from it, where women are so often not believed. And I'm not saying that means Deshaun Watson shouldn't be believed. He should be able to fight this, and these women should be able to bring, if these are credible claims, they should be able to bring them against Deshaun Watson without anyone thinking, what is the ulterior motive here? The motive is they feel like they've been wronged by Deshaun Watson, that he was inappropriate, and that's what this should be about, period.